Guten Tag und willkommen to A Fish on the Dry. I'm Wright Seneres. Today on the show, it's a Hamburger Special. I'll show you around our long weekend in Hamburg, one of Europe's biggest cities and the port of emigration for many Europeans in the 19th and 20th centuries. Part 1. She's a consulate professional. The reason for our trip to Hamburg was the German Fulbright Alumni Association was hosting a weekend conference for new and returning Fulbrighters. So off we went. Friday night was a networking and wine reception at the U.S. consulate, which was a really nice building, but very locked down. We weren't allowed to have cell phones inside, so you'll have to make do with the pamphlet I took home. The building is named the Little White House on the Ulster, which is fun. It was nice to meet some Fulbright alums and reconnect with a few Fulbrighters we had met at orientation in Marburg. We were chatting with two of them when someone tapped Alice on the shoulder. It was a crew teammate from college, who is now the Deputy Cultural Attaché at the U.S. Embassy in Berlin and a major player on the Fulbright board. Fiona and Alice hadn't seen each other in 15 years, so it was a mini jumbo reunion. It just goes to show it's a small world after all. Part 2, Fulbright and Shiny Saturday. We weren't able to register in advance, but Fiona encouraged us to come anyway and register at the door, and we got in. We learned more about the Fulbright Alumni Association in Germany, which inspired us to get more involved. The keynote speaker was Jeff Van Driel, Minister Counselor for Management Affairs, a Fulbrighter himself and a colleague of Fiona's at the embassy. He had some really interesting things to say about his 27 years in the Foreign Service and what's going on in the world. The price of admission included dinner, so after the workshop, we descended on Sausalitos, a Mexican place nearby. I was interested to try German's version of Mexican food, and it was perfectly adequate. Better than that, we had a really fun conversation at our table with other Fulbrighters. We're going to meet up with some of them soon. They're not that far away from us in Nordrhein-Westfalen. After dinner, the rest of the Fulbrighters went off to a dance party, but we were partied out and we went back to our hotel. Part 3, Hamburg Big and Small. We set aside Sunday for some exploring, so to kick it off, we met up with current Fulbrighter and awesome dude Tyler. He invited us to go with him to the fish market, which is Sundays only, and a combination fish market and farmers market and flea market on the famous Elbe River. He's based in Berlin, and you should read his blog, tylerberlin1516.wordpress.com. Tyler went back to his hostel, and we took a bus over to Miniature Wonderland, which is exactly correct. It was superb. They had miniature versions of a Swiss mountainside, a few scenes of wartime Berlin, a working airport with planes taxiing, landing, and taking off, Hamburg in miniature, the States, which consisted of Mount Rushmore, Las Vegas, Monument Valley, and a generic California, and a big little Scandinavian scene. What is amazing is its completeness and attention to detail. At regular intervals, the lights go out, so you see all these scenes at night as well. They have the largest indoor model railroad in Europe too. We have a general rule that we have at least one really nice meal when we travel, so we decided to make it a fancy brunch, and conveniently located near Miniature Wonderland was Schönes Leben for a fancy brunch buffet. It was excellent. I also had fun imagining this fancy portrait lady was holding an iPad. Our next stop in our cavalcade of Hamburg sites was the Ballenstadt Emigration Museum. As the famous philosopher Neil Diamond said, everywhere around the world, they're coming to America, and for a large percentage of Europeans in the 19th and 20th centuries, they came to America through Hamburg. This was a must-see for Alice, who was doing research on her German roots. Her paternal grandparents left Europe for the States sometime at the turn of the 20th century. While there, we were able to figure out that her grandfather left from Bremen and not Hamburg, but we have much more research to conduct. The museum is located in 3 of the former port buildings, where the ships left for the North Sea and then the Atlantic Ocean. It's full of really neat artifacts, and for some reason, a picture of the Philly Fanatic. Yes! We also made time to see the Micheliskirche, which is known in town simply as Der Michel. A small orchestra was practicing in the main church, which was lovely to hear. We went downstairs into the crypt for a prayer service, which was awesome. We finished off our day by getting dinner from Delft's Burgers, because of course, I had to have a hamburger in Hamburg. I got a veggie burger for Alice, and I got a cheeseburger. It was really busy, but worth the hour wait. It was a tasty burger, one of the best burgers I've ever had. We had return tickets for a late Monday morning, back to Paderborn, but I had one more thing I had to do. I made a pilgrimage to the glitzy, yet seedy, Reeperbahn, near the red light district to see the Beatles-Platz, which has these statues of the Pete Bestals. Here's John, George, Pete Best, and Paul. And Stuart Sutcliffe off to the side. If you remember your Beatles lore, it was in Hamburg that they polished their act before they became superstars. It was Sutcliffe's German girlfriend Astrid Kircher who gave them V haircuts, and it was Sutcliffe who left the band in 1961 and died soon after from a brain hemorrhage. Here's a monument at the site of the Star Club, where they and many other famous groups gigged before the big time. Here's the Kaiserkeller at Großfreiheit 36, 36, which has seen countless big acts even to now. And here is the site of the Beatles' first Hamburg gig, the Indra. There used to be a Beatles museum, but it closed in 2012. And now for some mustard. One of the reasons I really enjoyed my cheeseburger from Dolph's is that they quote-unquote got it right, at least in my opinion. What I mean is, they nailed the texture and the taste, like you would expect in the States, which is not quite what I experienced from the cheeseburgers I've had in Paderborn so far. In Paderborn, the taste was fine, but the burger patties were more like breakfast sausage patties in texture. I will gladly pay you Tuesday for another hamburger from Hamburg today. A Fish in the Dry is a Media Wright production. Sound and visual images by me, Wright Seneres, except where noted. This show is not affiliated with or sponsored by the Fulbright Commission, Universität Paderborn, or anyone else but me. For more information, you can go to the website, afishinthedry.com. I tweet and Instagram at DinoWright. Want to kick it old school? Send an email to afishinthedry@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.